Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Rumors of Heresy. My name is Zareth, and I've got another battle report for you today. I'm taking my Salamanders against Dark Angels, which is a first-time codex for me to face in 10th edition, so it's crazy. He's got a Primarch on his list. It's madness. If you want to see my list, go to the video description, and it's there spelled out for you in totality. We're facing each other on Scorched Earth, which apparently you just delete the objectives, which is madness. We're deploying all slantwise, Crucible of Battle. Here's my opponent's list. I'm not gonna read it for you because I hope that you're literate, and if you're not, this is probably material that's way too mature for you. I'm joking, but seriously, 15 Deathwing Knights, that's probably not a total overload. I have no idea, but it felt like an overload. They are obnoxious as hell. Here's our deployment, folks. You can see our dice that we kind of positioned in front of us to show where we were going to be deploying, so you can kind of see. But here are the objectives, in case you couldn't tell, with our very pretty yellow circles. They're so good. I'm really good at art, guys, if you didn't know. So, my opponent deployed first, and he ended up winning the roll to go first. There's no use concealing that painful fact, folks. And honestly, I wasn't too worried about it. My opponent, though, has a very, very resilient army with those Deathwing Knights not being able to take damage, or extra damage, because they reduce the total number of wounds that you can do to them by one. It's scary. But you can see where they're positioned here. The stealth lieutenant guy is kind of getting a little big for his britches, if you ask me. Here's how I deployed it. I apologize for the proxies. I'll have fewer proxies next time, folks. We have some cool news at the end. You can stay to the end and watch the news. I'll have it linked in the video description as well, so it should be time-stamped if you're impatient. But you can see I kind of split the Vanguard Veterans and the Jump Intercessors onto two separate sides, and I was really trying to imagine this game, what the battle was going to look like in a turn or in 2 turns. I wanted to see what we could predict. I also have 5 Jump Intercessors in the back with my Intercessors to block him from any shenanigans with deep striking, because he has another unit of his Terminators there waiting to cause issues. Yeah, here they are, in fact. They're blocking deep strikes. I probably deployed them a slightly more awkward way than I needed to. I'm not experienced with this, but I'm trying to keep a good, solid mindset of let's make sure deep strikes don't screw us, because people keep doing that to us, and we need to make it stop. He did win the roll to go first, as you can see, and so he got Containment and Secure No Man's Land, which is not too bad for the starting. And I didn't take a picture after he moved up. I didn't take a picture, guys. I apologize. So use your imagination and imagination this. He moved up. It's a very aggressive army list for how slow their guys are. They're all just kind of very trundly, just like, I'm going to meander my way up. There's a lot of threats here, and I have to really try to figure out, okay, how am I going to deal with all of these threats? Here are my secondaries. We have Recover Assets and Sabotage, which both require actions. Those are really tough ones for this army list to be able to deal with. Let's talk about some strategy right now. Man, he's being so aggressive right now. With how slow his army is, he's still going full bore against me, and I'm not going to be able to just bunker down and outscore. I'm going to have to set up a series of trades if I can. And the first trade is going to hurt. I'm going to have to sacrifice probably my Land Raider and my Infernus, because I need a counter punch to his counter punch. I'm going to have to go somewhat all in and try to kill one of his squads, maybe like a Terminator squad, or if he leaves his Primarch out in the open, if I can take him out, then maybe I will. However, regardless of what happens next, I need to have a counter to his counterpunch, because he's still going to have stuff left. I'm going to save my 2 jump pack squad, my big jump intercessor squad with Chaplain, and the big hand flamer Vanguard veteran squad. They're going to hide behind some walls and just wait. It's very, very brave of them, but we need to take this as a series of trades, kind of like chess, because that's the way my opponent is playing, and I don't have the offensive ability to just wipe him out in this turn. It's gonna take a few bites. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time, and it's intimidating, guys. I don't know if I can do it. He's got a lot of layers of defense and protection. Let's see what happens. Immediately, my opponent used a CP to hide his Primarch behind the wall, which it was probably smart, because I think I could have shot him to pieces this turn if he hadn't, but that did leave a pretty clear path to what I needed to do for the rest of my models. You can see my jump intercessors up top took out that infiltrator lieutenant and sat on the objective. The Vanguard veterans with a captain just bravely sat behind a wall and watched the action. And you can see the Land Raider jumped up, Blade Guard veterans got out, Adrax got out, and the Infernus Marines, they advanced and used immolation protocols. The repulsor executioner, the eradicators, everything opened fire. I did my very best. He did his very best of imitating a guy who could not fail a 4-up invuln, but eventually got there, and I did take him out with a couple of my very final shots. The Blade Guard and Adrax did 12 wounds to the repulsor, which left it on 4, and then we both promptly forgot to make it less accurate in the rest of its shooting like we're supposed to. You can see that Lionel Johnson is hiding, and then you can barely see the little mace or whatever that the Deathwing Knight on the bottom is hiding. They're hiding behind the wall. They're ready to jump out and get us. It's very scary. So my opponent got extended battle lines and area denial. Neither of us scored. He did score at the start of his turn, but neither of us scored any secondary objectives. Lionel Johnson, you can see, I took a picture of his prep because this is a lot, guys. You can see this kind of swarm of Marines right here. The repulsor ran away, and that was basically, I mean, it's time. It's go time. How many Infernus Marines are we sacrificing? Will Lionel Johnson eat all of them? My opponent had been saying at the start of the game that he usually kills about 700 points worth of models in each game that he plays, and I wasn't sure what he could do. I had no idea. I was just scared, and my Infernus Marines were prepared to bend over and submit to whatever vile things Lionel Johnson was going to do to them. In reality, he only killed 3 Infernus Marines, and the Infernus Marines, with 21 attacks, ended up doing 1 wound to Mr. Johnson. Wonderful. We gave the Johnson to Johnson. Was that off color? Maybe a little bit. The Deathwing Knights, I did manage to overwatch with the Redeemer on something. I don't remember what it was. I think I killed something. But then he didn't quite kill my Land Raider Redeemer. He was in a position where he caused 4 wounds to my Redeemer. I needed to save 3 of them at what, 4+, 5+, something like that, and I got 3 out of 4 and barely staved off destruction. And here's a close-up, folks. Pretty exciting. They're all, for being so fiercely in combat, they're all kind of not looking at each other. They're avoiding eye contact. It's somewhat awkward. Azrael and his friends walked up to the objective and started to burn it. What a bag of, terrible people. So they ended up scoring 15 because they burned the objective, and they had scored 10 on the objectives. For secondaries, he also got 5 for extend battle lines and destroyed area denial. He turned it into CP, which is wise. We were both using CP at a pretty high rate. For my turn to secondaries, I got extend battle lines, just like he had, and establish locus, which are both things that happen in the middle of the board. Can we take advantage of it? Well, he did go for it. He just went all in on my units that I presented for him, and that means it's time to spring the trap. We planned this already. It's time to run away with the Infernus, run away with the Land Raider, and jump in with the jump troops and see what we can do. We've got to take out those Terminators, and we've got to take out Mr. Johnson. That's very important. Anything else is a bonus, but we won't be able to use our Infernus. I couldn't believe how well they did against the Primarch, by the way. What a crazy thing. I don't know if he rolled poorly or if my Infernus Marines are just totally amazing. Probably both. But I was very excited. And I couldn't believe that the Land Raider survived. The Blade Guard veterans even lived. A little bit crazy. I think he wasn't expecting to lose that unit of Terminators. He also did not deep strike his Terminators because he wanted to mess with me in the turn 3, I believe is what he was saying. So let's see how this goes. It's time to roll the dice, folks, for about 3 hours. And so we jumped in with both squads of Intercessors and Vanguard vets. The Eradicators sidled up and got ready to take some shots. Things ran away, like my Land Raider Redeemer and the Infernus. And you can see, Lionel Johnson is dead. 3-up invuln save is no joke, folks. It took a lot of shots. He saved so many 3-up invuln saves, guys. It was just completely bonkers. But we finally got through him. We also managed to kill those Deathwing Knights, and it was great. I did have to use, I think I used Infernus, I used Immolation Protocols, is what it's called, on the Deathwing Knights, giving us devastating wounds on our Flamers for the Vanguard vets, and we roasted them, man. We got both units out, which was huge. Really big deal. I also was a little dumb and consolidated into combat with those Intercessors in the ruins, and not realizing that he was going to have the stratagem, or whatever it's called, to let them just fall back and then shoot and charge anyways this turn. So, little foolish on my end. I did manage to get 5 for extend battle lines, but established locus was not going to work. Even though I was in the center, I couldn't spare a unit to sit there and establish loci. It just wasn't going to work, folks. My opponent got Sabotage and Bring It Down. Bring It Down is an interesting one, especially because my Land Raider is so close to death and he can get a ton of VP just for finishing it off if he can. So you can see Azrael and his inner circle moved up, and I don't know if they were the ones who killed the Land Raider, or if it was an Eradicator shot, or if the Land Raider decided to just roll over and die out of politeness. I think the Land Raider did actually roast one of Azrael's squad with an Overwatch, which that kind of felt good. And then they did shoot me up a little bit with the Eradicators, but not as much as I would have thought. The bad thing here, folks, is his final Deathwing Knights appeared, they landed, and they charged and were able to eradicate the Eradicators immediately. It felt bad. They got their 8-inch charge or whatever. They didn't even have to reroll it. And the Blade Guard did get shot up, but Adrax survived, so that was cool. And then Azrael and his friends tried a 9 or maybe even a 10-inch charge to get to the repulsor, but they couldn't do it. So they were kind of just stuck there. They're standing on the objective. Initially, we had thought that the objective remained, even though they burned it, the objective remained to score on. But after further reading the rules, it looks like he couldn't actually score on that objective. So, for what it's worth, it should be gone at this point. So, scoring. He did score 5 more because he didn't get the one. He got the one for holding his back zone because it's stickied, and then he doesn't get to score on the objective that he set on fire. So sucks to be you, bud. And otherwise, he also killed that Land Raider. He got 4 for that from bringing it down. Did not bother to sabotage anything. He probably should have done that with Azrael now that I'm thinking of it, but it's all good, man. Salamanders, turn 3, we got Engage on All Fronts and Area Denial, which are both things that are kind of in play. You can see our score. I got 10 more for holding objectives. I could have gotten 3, but the mission only let us hold 2 objectives, and then we had to set objectives on fire if we wanted to hold them. And now that I'm thinking of it, I actually think I couldn't have scored 3, because he held the top one with his stupid Terminators that he killed me with. Well, I have to admit, last turn went perfectly. At first, it seemed like Lionel Johnson was just not going to take a single wound. My opponent saved spectacularly, but we managed to get a bunch of wounds on him with that charge from the assaults, the jump assault intercessors, and we got him. Now, we have one more squad of Terminators, which seems like maybe it's going to be a little bit easy because they're unsupported. They have one squad of those infiltrator guys to support them, which isn't that much, frankly. And we got to delete them if possible, though we don't. We're working with fewer eradicators, and we're gonna split our army a little bit. Our Vanguard veterans are going to go fight those eradicators of his with the Apothecary Biologus. It's gonna be a mess, but we can maybe just break his back this turn if we can get decisive enough movements. So, let's just see. Azrael's gonna be a huge pain, by the way. I don't have anything to deal with him. Maybe we can one-shot a few of his guys, but he's gonna come and mess with me a lot, it seems like. Unfortunately, I don't have any final pictures. This is our final turn, but I did move up with the jump intercessors and shot at the infiltrators. I actually managed to kill 1 or 2 of them with just a couple bolt gun shots, which that -1 from on the AP for the bolt pistols is kind of cool. That never used to be relevant at all back in 6th edition. Back in my day, the engaged repulsor got to shoot. Everyone was ready. And we ended up killing 4 of the knights and 4 intercessors. One of the knights was wounded. He was close to death. And there was only a couple guys left on that objective, folks. Pretty good success. And I didn't lose that many. A couple for sure, but not nearly as many as I kind of expected. Adrax went up and he got ready to fight against his Intercessor Squad, because Adrax will wipe that whole squad if he rolls well enough. The Vanguard vets jumped up and they had enough movement to kind of surround those eradicators and get close to the repulsor. Now, the eradicators used a CP to get back into the repulsor. I'm not actually sure that's something he could do. He looked at his rules for a while and he was like, yep, I can do that, and did it. And I'm not sure. I'll have to check on that. I'm not saying that he was trying to cheat. I just don't think he was sure about it. It didn't seem sure, and so probably part of what I'm doing is just reacting off of his uncertainty. To be very clear, my opponent was great and I had no issues with him at all. So this is not an accusation, it's just a trust but verify. I don't think his intention was anything nefarious, however. The Vanguard vets, because the Eradicators were inside of the repulsor, there was only 4 wounds on the repulsor, so the Vanguard vets used immolation protocols. They got a discount because of the captain, and roasted the repulsor, and they blew it up. They killed it. Yay! They rolled 6s for their mortal wounds, and they were good to go, man. And then the Vanguard vets assaulted the Eradicators anyways, and killed quite a few of them. So that was a happy landing. I think there were a couple of them left. And then Adrax went in. He used his flamer thing, weapon first. Maybe he killed one of the Intercessors, but then he jumped into combat, killed 4 total. The 4 of them died, and the Power Fist Sergeant didn't do anything to him in return. And that was basically it over there. There weren't that many Marines left. My opponent's army was mostly just gone. The Eradicators and the Repulsor over here shot and killed one of the Inner Circle guys, leaving them at 4 plus Azrael, which is still a pretty strong squad, but I didn't have anything to deal with them on that side. However, at that point, my opponent decided to throw in the towel because I did score more on the primary. Once again, I ended up getting 7 on secondaries, and I was ahead by a little bit, but I was going to be ahead by a whole lot more because pretty soon I could just jump in and burn his back objective, which is worth 10 on its own. I could burn that top objective. I was gonna get the max primary, and all he had was that Azrael Inner Circle Knight squad, which granted, it could do some damage. However, it wasn't going to be enough. I was going to be able to focus on secondaries and just kind of avoid his squad a little bit. Maybe he'd burn my back zone objective, but one way or another, I managed to... I was ahead enough that he was going to struggle to get ahead of me, and we called it there. So we ended up with a win. I'm not going to tally all my theoretical points. At the end of the game, I was ahead by a little bit. I would have been ahead by significantly more at the end of turn 4, like I said. But I do think that it doesn't matter, guys. What really matters right now is trying to get a little bit of experience. So what did we learn? Deathwing Knights are really annoying, guys. They're tough. They're so tough to kill. You can't wound them. You can't do extra damage to them. Damage 2 is the same as damage 1, and it was tough, man. It was really tough. Luckily, I had enough shooting that I managed to melt through some of it, but it was very, very challenging. The Primarch, I had no idea you could take a Primarch these days. What a shift. That used to never be a thing. He didn't seem that guy. Like, how does he not kill most of those Intercessors? Maybe I got lucky. I don't think so. I didn't have to roll that many dice, and I didn't roll like above average to save them. They just kind of lived, and then they did a wound to him. I've seen the stats to like Angron Unbound, and Angron would have wiped that whole squad unless he got tragically unlucky. He would have wiped that whole squad. How is Lionel Johnson just killing 3 and then taking a wound in return? It's crazy. I'm very shocked by that, guys. And then the last thing is, I'm starting to feel it, guys. I'm starting to wake up a bit. The mechanics are coming to me now. I'm starting to understand how the game works again. And I was able to set a trap for my opponent and read the board. And not to brag, I'm not trying to brag. It feels good, but I think the best part of it is I'm starting to, instead of just focusing on trying to get the mechanics right, I'm actually starting to make things work on a play level. Like I'm able to elevate my play because of my understanding of the mechanics, and that's a really good sign. It's nice to see that I was able to do that. I'm not trying to say I just outplayed my opponent by a ton or whatever. I'm just saying that it's nice to feel like I can actually play the game instead of trying to just frantically learn the mechanics. So it's a good sign, folks. As far as news goes, I have new models for the next battle report, guys. We have Adrax done. We have the Infernus guys done, and the next models will be in the Eradicators. So look forward to that instead of seeing my old Eldar, or Dark Eldar Beast Pack models as Eradicators. Terrible, terrible proxies. Instead, we've got these guys, and you know, we'll actually have Eradicators. I'm excited. He's also working on the tank. He's working on my jump intercessors. We're getting there, folks. We're getting there, slowly but surely. And finally, this is all a big ramp up for a GT that's going to happen in a couple months. It's the October Open, as they call it, in the Denver area. And you can see the trophy work in progress. It's going to be Halloween themed, apparently. It's spooky. And I don't know. I don't have many aspirations. I would love to win, obviously. That would be so cool. But I doubt I'll win. It's going to have over 100 people in it, and I'll have my army finished by then. But I don't have any tournament experience in 10th edition. I'm sure by then I will not have faced all of the factions, and even if I had, I know I won't have faced all of the best representations of each of those factions, and there'll be a lot of tricks that I miss. I still don't score very well on secondary. We only have 2 months to correct all that, so we're going to do our best, but I'm looking forward to it. And then there'll be another one in 3 months, because the Denver area is just doing a GT every 3 months. And we'll have the Rocky Mountain Open, hopefully in March. We can play that, and then who knows? I would love to play more tournaments, but let's just take it as it goes, folks. Let me know if you have feedback, if you like the video. I really appreciate you guys watching. Please hit that thumbs up button on your way out. Tell your friends about this amazing YouTube channel. And thank you all so much for watching once again. And remember that if you didn't hear it from me, it's probably heresy.